For you trackside, we have a wet qualifying ahead of us. Set to be a potentially drying track though. At the moment, rain is not falling. It is certainly in the air though, and drivers are going to be very, very keen to get out of the pits and get on with this one, because if the rain does start to fall, of course, they won't be able to capitalise on what is a damp-ish track, and I say that with a little bit of exaggeration. Cars are coming out. We are getting towards the end of the season now, so it is that time where we do start to look towards the championship. After this, we go to Abu Dhabi for the final round of the season, where for the very first time, we are going to be going outside of Europe for the championship. It's going to be a night race out there as well. It really is set to be a cracker. We'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the weekend, but for now we will focus on the qualifying session ahead. For those of you maybe new to the Formula Renault Eurocup, how does it all work? Well, they'll have a qualifying session this morning. That'll set the grid for the race later on. Then they'll have another qualifying session again tomorrow morning, and that'll set the grid for tomorrow's race number 2. In terms of the championship, it is Oscar Piastri who leads the way, 247 points for him. There is Hugo de Wilde, who actually took the very first win of the season. It was a pretty crazy race, that first one. We went to Monza, first of all, and a lot of the championship leaders all ran into problems there. Only Victor Martins was the driver who seemed to escape any major dramas and finish 4th. So we had 3 drivers all capitalise and take podium finishes. Hugo de Wilde was one of them, Kushmani another, Leonardo Lorani splitting those 2 on the podium. All 3 drivers haven't been back there since though, so they'll be keen to get another podium finish as we get towards the end of the season. But where was we in terms of the championship? It is Oscar Piastri who leads, 247 points. Victor Martins is in second place at the moment, 234.5 points. Of course, we did have a half points race back at the Hockenheimring. That really does mix things up. It's, of course, if you lose a championship by half a point, it is a devastating result indeed. But it was the lap count that determined that. 208 points for Alexander Smolya. Do not count the Russian driver out just yet. He is not a long way behind. Of course, you get 25 points for a victory in the Formula Renault Eurocup, and Alexander Smolya is still within touching distance of the top 2, who are, of course, very, very close indeed, just 12.5 points between them. Lorenzo Colombo, he sits 4th, the Italian driver, 173.5 points, and a very, very impressive season it has been for Caio Collet. He is the lead rookie at the moment on 158 points. Some 84 points, I think it is clear, from Kushmani, the next rookie, who is 6th. Hugo de Wilde 7th, and it's Peter Patacek, João Vieira, and then Alex Quinn is 10th. Of course, he did the last 3 races, filling in for Sebastian Fernandez. Did a very, very good job, Alex Quinn. Took some podium finishes, and I know he'll be watching. There is Federico Malvestiti, getting ready to go. 14th in the championship for him. Kushmani, as we said, on the podium in the very, very first race. The Indian driver finished 3rd in that one. It was a crazy race. Monza was one of the tracks where we had a wet race. It was on the second day where we had that. Only a couple of wet races so far this season. It's set to be dry later on, but tomorrow could be a very, very different story. It's due to be, of course, wet for qualifying today and then dry for the race, and then it's going to be the complete opposite for tomorrow, with a wet qualifying and a dry qualifying, sorry, and then a wet race in the afternoon. We welcome Cem Boluk-Beysi to the championship, and what an entry this is. The Turkish driver, you'll know him from esports. He races in the F1 esports championship. 21 years old, Cem Boluk-Beysi, the Turkish driver for Team GRS. He's racing for Toro Rosso in the F1 esports series, and he's already had 2 rounds of that championship so far this season, 2 more still to go. He has had some racing experience. He raced in the GT4 European Series this year, did a couple of races at Paul Ricard and then Misano, but This, from what I understand, is his very first race in single-seaters, and he's not been doing a bad job at all. Yesterday in practice, he was some 14 seconds behind the leaders in the first session, and then brought that gap down to just 3.7 seconds in the next session. So he is finding time very, very quickly, and he is one of many drivers out there that is proving esports is a good route into real-life racing now, and I look forward, I'm sure as many of you are, to seeing how he gets on. He's not the only new entry we have. Swiss driver Gregor Salsi is also going to be a new entry with us this weekend, and we have returning drivers in Sebastian Fernandez and Alessio Delida. They were both racing in the FIA F3 Championship for the last 3 races, and they also missed Silverstone as well earlier in the season, which was the second round. So cars are coming onto the track. There you can see the spray. It is very, very wet out there in places, drying in others. You can see the clouds behind my commentary position. They don't look very good, do they? And that is why we don't have many spectators out there at the moment. I'd say you're much better off watching behind a screen so far at Hockenheim. Set to be a little bit dry later, so hopefully we have a good crowd set for later on. We are supporting the DTM season finale, because we've got some of the Super GT drivers within that as well, including Jenson Button. So this is a real good race for our drivers to be a part of. The campsites are very, very full. Lots of parties going on last night, but it's time to go qualifying for the Formula Renault Eurocup. There is the number 72, which is Xavier Laveris. Just getting himself a little bit of free space on track, and the first of the cars already coming across the line, and it was Oscar Piastri who's going to come across the line first. Alexander Smolyar will be next along. Lorenzo Colombo was third across the line. Then we had the number 11 of Victor Martins. Number 12 came across next, and that was Lorenzo Colombo, but on your screen at the moment it is Xavier Laveris, the Spaniard. Having down in 15th in terms of the championship at the moment is Xavier. And just getting himself round the last corner. This is our 4th visit to Hockenheim since 2000. We've only been here a handful of times in the last 20 or so years. Came here in 2004. Scott Speed won both races that year. In 2010, Kevin Corjus won both races. And in 2018, last year, Max Futrell won both races. All 3 of those drivers would then go on to become champion. So I wonder if that trend is going to continue here this weekend. The likes of Piastri, Martins, or even Smolyar will certainly hope so. There's one of the Renault Academy drivers, Caio Collet, 3 of those on the grid. Victor Martins and Lorandi, the others, of course, Caio Collet and Victor Martins, sporting the Renault livery, though. As I said, very, very impressive season for Caio Collet so far. It's only his 2nd season in car racing, on the French F4 Championship last year. Piastri's going to give us a benchmark time, though, for the rest of the field to follow. Across the curbs he comes into the final couple of corners. And Oscar Piastri, let's see what time he sets for us. No doubt the times are only going to improve. These Hankook tyres just get better and better as the sessions go on. And across the line he comes, and it's going to be a 1:59.3 for Oscar Piastri to get the session underway. Alexander Smolyar came across the line, did a 1:59.6. Lorenzo Colombo actually went up to 2nd there, 1:59.6 as well. Then we had the number 12 next along. In fact, Colombo seems to have dropped back, so it's Caio Collet who's gone to 2nd, Victor Martins to 5th. We've got a replay here of Piastri flirting with the curbs. Had a very, very good round here last year, did Oscar Piastri. Was his best round of the season, actually. Took a 3rd and a 2nd, so he does love this track. One driver who hasn't been treated so well at Hockenheim is Victor Martins. Retired from both races here last year. That did hurt his championship. It did the opposite for Oscar Piastri. Good season for him so far, 6 wins, 8 podium finishes. Victor Martins has had the 4 wins and 11 podiums. There is Alexander Smolyar. Into Mercedes he goes. Got a Piastri ahead of him, which is a good position for him. He can kind of judge Piastri a little bit ahead. The 18-year-old Russian. Of course, he's been on the top step a couple of times at Monza and took a dream win at Monaco. Going to Monaco gives the drivers a chance to have a feel for the track before potentially moving up into the likes of the F3 or F2 classes later in their careers. And taking a win there is what every single racing driver dreams of. And Alexander Smolyar is a driver that has already done that. Let's see what he does as he comes into the final couple of corners in the number 3 car. Through the final corner he comes. You've got to be careful on the curbs, of course. It will spin up those rear tyres. Piastri across the line, 156.6. The times are going to continue to tumble, 157.7. So we've got a bit of a spread between the top 2 at the moment. Caio Collet comes across the line and goes second with a 157.5. There is Victor Martins. He goes to 3rd place behind. Lorandi has gone 5th place. Lorenzo Colombo has gone 6th. Then in 18th we have Amaury Cordeel. Now, Amaury Cordeel, interestingly enough, went fastest in a practice session yesterday for the very first time of the season. That was because we had a wet session. Well, let's go back to that in a second, because I think this is Xavier Laveras, is it? No, in fact, it's Alessio Daleda, and unfortunately just getting it crossed up under braking. Returning driver, as we said, so just trying to bed himself in, really. Had a couple of sessions to do that yesterday, but it was mostly wet yesterday. The first session, they did go out and have a couple of laps in the dry, and Amaury Cordeel was first out of the pit lane and went and set a time that, well, physically just couldn't be beaten. He was almost 2 seconds clear from the field, so fastest in that, clearly comfortable is the Belgian in those conditions. But Piastri out front is just getting quicker and quicker, showing a lot of confidence, isn't he, as he comes into the right-hander now. Purple first sector, wasn't quicker through the second. There you can see on the curbs, just getting a little bit crossed up is Oscar Piastri. Now into the left-hander we go. The Australian trying to become the first ever Australian champion in the Formula Renault Eurocup in this 29th season. Of course, new car this season as well, hence the trip to Abu Dhabi. Organisers want to make the ending a special one. It's going to be a night race, as I said, as well. What a finale that's set to be. Who's going to be going there? The championship leader, though. Piastri trying to put himself in a comfortable lead as he comes through the first corner, but behind, Alexander Smolyar has gone quickest. 155.8 for Smolyar. Well, he'd gone just under a tenth quicker than Oscar Piastri. Victor Martins has now gone to 2nd place. And we've got Piastri in 3rd. Collet is 4th. Lorenzo Colombo is 5th. Then it's Hugo de Wilde in 6th. This is the number 71. This Alessio Daleda again. On the curbs, round she goes, unfortunately. Well, the GRS driver is not having a good run of things so far. His return to the series after 3 rounds out with the FIA F3 Championship is not a very good one at the moment, but plenty of time to make up for that with a race and then another qualifying and race later on, and still over half the session remaining, of course. 20-minute session, 11 minutes of those still to go. But it's Smolyar who leads at the moment, 155.6 it is for Smolyar. Then we have a 155.9 for Victor Martins, 156.3 then for Piastri. As they come through, in fact, it's Smolyar just coming into the long right-hander now. There you can see 10 minutes and a half remaining. Got to be careful over the curb there. Smolyar, you can see, breaking off the racing line. That's where the grip is going to be in the wet. You don't want to brake where the rubber's down. It's just going to send you straight on into that gravel trap. But here is Smolyar. Got a marker ahead of him in Piastri. We'll probably be able to see he's just closing in ever so slightly. That is helping him to a provisional pole position, but Piastri is going quicker on this lap, and wow, went very, very quick through the final sector and has put him quickest, 155.6 behind for Smolyar. That's good enough to put him in second place, but it's a 155.4, but Victor Martins has gone even quicker behind. There he goes through shot the number 11, 155.3 for Victor Martins, 155.4 for Piastri, 155.6 it is then for Smolyar. Colette has done a 156.014. Hugo de Wilde 156.4 as they make their way now through the Parabolica. They can see the two Renault Academy drivers. Here is Victor Martins, who has gone quickest in the session. So it's Martins, Piastri, Smolyar, Colombo. Then we have Hugo de Wilde. Lorenzo Colombo is 6th. Kushmani is 7th. Gregor Salsi jumping into the series for the first time. Well, I say for the first time. He did do a couple of races in 2017, did Gregor Salsi, so it's not his debut in the series, but he is coming back for the first time in a couple of years. Then we have Lorandi in 9th place. Peter Patacek will be disappointed to be down in 10th place. Frank Bird is 11th at the moment. Behind that, then, we have the number 33 of Sebastian Fernandez, who is coming back. Xavier Laveras next along. Patrick Pasma is 14th. As looking back at Victor Martins, he has gone quickest through the first sector, a little bit slower through the second sector, so he is down overall, on his own time, that is, of course. Over 8 minutes still remaining, and the track is just going to continue to get quicker as here comes Piastri round the final corner into the final right-hander. He goes, oh, it's a little bit of traffic behind for Caio Collet, the Brazilian. That's going to hurt him. As across the line, here comes Oscar Piastri, and he stays second. What about Victor Martins? Does he improve his time behind? Across the line he comes now, and he goes just a little bit quicker, 155.2. That is that time for Victor Martins. Very, very consistent so far, but he's going to have a little bit of traffic on this lap. Alessio Delida, that is, who's, I think, just going to move out the way slightly, or is he? No, Victor Martins having to back right off there. And at this lap is not going to be any quicker for him. Oh, who is this going wide? That is the number 18, unfortunately. That has gone off. That's Amaury Cordeel. He was quickest in one of the sessions yesterday, but Amaury Cordeel, the Belgian driver, unfortunately, on that lap, had to bail out of it. He is 16th at the moment, so he could do with finding some time. Here's Xavier Laveras. That's a curb you don't want to run over, as demonstrated there. This is the number 33 of Sebastian Fernandez, and getting it all crossed up there. I think that's out of the first corner. Very, very fast through there, of course. In the dry, that's absolutely no problem being that wide. And behind, oh, in fact, we got a red flag. Session is red flagged, sadly. Now that is Lorandi, who has gone off into the barriers. I'm just trying to work out where that is exactly. Somewhere through the final sector. Oh, that is actually through turn 14, I think. Now, we did see someone bouncing over the curbs there not so long ago. And I wonder if Lorandi did something similar. Rain really starting to come down out there now, isn't it? And I wonder if that's something that caught Leonardo Lorandi out. Very, very disappointed he'll be with that one. 12th in the championship for Lorandi. He's included in what is a very, very close battle for 6th in the championship. And that's going to hurt his chances of getting himself even more involved in that one. There's just 34 points between 6th and 13th in the championship. Lorandi included in that, but he'll be bitterly disappointed with that one. So red flags come out and cars are making their way into the pit lane. So while they are doing that, let's run through the order. It is Victor Martins who is quickest at the moment. 155.2 for him. Piastri next. It's 155.4 for Oscar Piastri. Then it's Smolyar. There you can see Victor Martins. Umbrella going over. You don't want to just trying to keep that cockpit from getting any more soaked. Alexander Smolyar, 3rd place. Then we have Caio Collet, 4th, 155.9. So 4 drivers going under that 156 mark. Now this is Victor Martins out of the final corner. Is he going to flirt with disaster here? That, didn't catch the end of that one, but this is down at the hairpin. Through Parabolica we go. Victor Martins looking very, very comfortable despite the very difficult conditions. Out of the first corner, you can see there drifting, 4-wheel drift pretty much through the first corner. Pretty impressive stuff from the Frenchman. That is why he's 2nd in the championship at the moment, fighting for the lead with Oscar Piastri. And there is Oscar Piastri, just over 2.5 tenths back. As we said, the 18-year-old from Melbourne, switching to the R-Race GP team this year, raced with Arden last year. 6 wins and 8 podiums for him so far. It's his 3rd season out of karting. He did do the Formula Renault Eurocup last year, took 3 podiums, 2 of those being here at Hockenheim, which took him to 8th in the championship. There's Larandi's car being taken away, and at the moment, Larandi 10th in the session, so no chance of him moving any further forward than that. But the rain really starting to come down, so the chances of times improving are starting to become pretty slim. Alexander Smolyar, car getting fired up for him. The 18-year-old Russian for Team RSGP. As we said, he has taken a couple of wins at Monza and Monaco. 12th last season, so really improving this time. Finished 8th here last year, did Alexander Smolyar. Retired in the 2nd race though, but an 8th place he would have been fairly happy with. Okay, cars coming out the pit lane very, very quickly. Even if they're not going to improve in times, it's still worth them going out there for the entire session, because if this is the situation in this afternoon's race, or as it's forecast to be in tomorrow's race, then it's good to get as many laps in as you can. Of course, Formula Renault Cup, really a stomping ground for drivers to go on and race in the likes of F3, F2 and F1. To give you an idea of how many drivers this has produced to go on to the very, very top of motorsport, only 6 drivers on the current F1 grid haven't raced in Formula Renault Eurocup. 14 of them have done. Champions including the likes of Lando Norris in 2016, Pierre Gasly in 2013 as well, Valtteri Bottas in 2008. Other champions include the likes of Felipe Massa, Kamui Kobayashi, Brendan Hartley, Stoffel van Dorn as well, Nick de Vries, who of course found himself F2 champion. Max Futrell won the championship last year. Who is going to follow in his footsteps? Frenchman Victor Martins will hopefully, well, we'll be hoping, shall I say, that will be him. And there he comes. You see the spray now. That is a lot larger than what it was at the very start of the session, and that's what we were talking about at the start of the session. That is why they all wanted to rush out of the pits. Victor Martins is one of the drivers who has got stronger and stronger as the season has gone on, particularly at the last 2 rounds, taking 3 wins and a further podium. Last time out, absolutely dominated at Catalonia, so he comes into this round high on confidence, does Victor Martins. Catalonia, he took both wins, poles and fastest laps, and that really brought him into contention for the championship. It has put the pressure on Oscar Piastri. As I said, the gap is now 12.5 points between the pair, and that can change very, very quickly. With 25 points for the winner, 18 for second, 15 for third, Victor Martins can close that gap or potentially leave here going into Abu Dhabi as the championship leader, even if Oscar Piastri doesn't have a particularly bad round. And that confidence is clear to see in his driving so far in this qualifying session. Victor Martins, through Mercedes he goes, to the left-hander, now through the right, at turn number 10. This is where the second sector stops and the third sector begins. May have just been able to make out the white line. It's pretty hard to see now. And you can see the times 2 seconds slower already. No, they're just coming charging out the pits, but they are not going to go much quicker. Yellow flags are out, so someone has gone off somewhere, and I believe it's the number 18 that has run into trouble somewhere, which is Amaury Cordial. And there we go, red flags out. Oh, that doesn't look too good, does it? That is not what the car looked like when it left the pit lane. And that is just coming out of turn number 10, I believe. Yes. Now, what has happened there? Oh, I think that's damage to the barrier, or it wasn't, and now it will be. Oh dear. I think he was just a little bit too happy on the throttle. And that is the number 46 going round, which is Chen Bollock-Basie, as we said, doing a fantastic job. I mean, he wouldn't be too pleased to see that one back, but for a driver from esports coming in, he has proved esports to be very, very well. He's done a good job for esports as a whole. Chen Bollock-Basie, the Toro Rosso driver in F1 esports. He's done a couple of GT4 races this year, but otherwise, no real experience in the real-life world of motorsport. But esports, a big, big name, and it's just fantastic to see him here. And as I said, he brought the gap down from 14 seconds. That's how far behind he was in the very first practice session of the weekend. And Chen Bollock-Basie is 14th in this session. That is hugely impressive. He's only about 3 seconds back from Victor Martins. But I'm not sure we're going to get any more running, or real running, in this session. Amaury Cordial, his car needs to be recovered. As I said, he was fastest in one of the sessions yesterday. Oh, and there, that is Victor Martins, isn't it? What happened to him? I'm sure we'll find out very, very quickly. But Amaury Cordial, the 17-year-old Belgian, best result 5th in race 1 at the Hockenheimring. Here is Victor Martins. There you can see getting on the curb, and is that going to send him off the circuit, or did he grab hold of that one? Looked to be okay there, but well, not too sure what has left Victor Martins where he is. But Amaury Cordial hoping to get a better result than that this weekend. 4 top 10 finishes for him. Won the Spanish F4 Championship last year. So his first season in the Renault Eurocup, learning year for him. And doing things like that is where you learn really, really big lessons. And it's about having to almost do those mistakes sometimes to learn from them. Very tricky conditions. As I said, we haven't had a huge amount of running in the wet this season. Just 2 wet races so far. All the cars have come to a stop there, and I believe that's where we are watching Victor Martins, in fact. There's a look at the track, and here is confirmation of the results. Victor Martins, 155.2. Oscar Piastri finishes 2nd, just a couple of tenths behind. Smoliar will be 3rd. Caio Collet, impressive session for him, 4th. Hugo de Wilde, likewise, that's a very good performance. Colombo, Patacek, Maney, Salsi. Frank Bird, brilliant session for him, finishing 10th. Fernandez 11th on his comeback. Laveras, Pasma, Bollock-Basie 14th. How about that? Cordial, Lorandi, of course, took that spin. Malvestiti, we didn't talk about him much, but he finished in 17th place. And at the back of the field, we had the number 71 of Alessio Daleda. Well, let's talk about our top 3. It's Alexander Smoliar in 3rd place. The top 3 in the championship, not in the order they sit in the championship, but they are top 3 in qualifying. Championship leader Oscar Piastri will start on the front row, just over 2.5 tenths back from the Frenchman Victor Martins. You can see Oscar Piastri demonstrating But with risk comes reward out of that first corner. And Victor Martins, he is going to be on pole position as he continues to try and chase down the Australian Piastri. The two going head-to-head in this penultimate round of the championship. It is very, very close. Who is going to leave Hockenheim, the championship leader? We're going to have a couple of races to find out. Crowds are gathering, and they will be, I'm sure, highly anticipating that race coming up later on, which is going to be at 35 minutes past 3 local time here in Germany. That chap is certainly going to have a good view of the action, and you will too, because you can join us live in all the usual places. Look forward to calling the action on that one for you. Hopefully, it'll be a dry race when we get to 35 minutes past 3 here in Hockenheim. So thank you very, very much for joining us for qualifying. It's been an interesting session. We had the likes of, unfortunately, Lorandi running into problems. Mavastiti struggled as well. Alessio Deleda likewise at the back of the field. But at the front, the top 3 in the championship, Victor Martins, Oscar Piastri and Alexander Smolyar, top 3 on the grid, with the likes of Colette, Ugo de Wilde, Lorenzo Colombo, Patacek, Maney, Saucy and Frank Bird rounding out the top 10. That is all from us for now. 35 minutes past 3 it is when we go racing for the first time here this weekend. Who's going to take the first win of the weekend? You'll have to join us live then and find out. But for now, that is all from Hockenheim. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will look forward to seeing you back for the first race a little bit later on, where hopefully we will have a dry track. Either way, it's going to be a very, very interesting one for sure. That is all from Hockenheim for qualifying race 1 later on. For now, it's goodbye.